Ye Feng, you have been here for 3 years now. You haven't forged a knight's sword at the lowest level in 3 years. I think you should change your path. You also know how Avril Lavigne feels for you, but if you keep on doing this, how will you raise her in the future? And based on your current situation, his father's relationship. After speaking, the dwarf turned and left, leaving Ye Feng alone in the smithy. Ye Feng touched his nose, a bitter smile appeared on his face. Just now, the man was called Nizuo, and he was one of the few dwarves, and he was also the owner of this blacksmith shop, a famous forge master in Augsburg. It was Nizuo who picked him back to the blacksmith shop 3 years ago, and he did not end up dying of illness on the street. And the day Nizuo picked him up was also the day he traveled to this world. In the 3 years in the blacksmith shop, Ye Feng has been studying forging technology seriously. 3 years have passed, but he never succeeded. If it weren't for Nizuo's kind heart, I'm afraid he would have been driven out long ago. In the past 3 years, he has sent away batch after batch of students in the forge. Whether he came earlier or later, no matter how high or low, he became a blacksmith. He alone is unique. Nizuo had persuaded him several times to find another way out, but he couldn't stand Ye Feng's persistence and Avril's plea. Avril Lavigne is the righteous daughter of Nizuo and the daughter of Eric, one of the 3 high-ranking knights of Augsburg. Because of the friendship between Eric and Nizuo, she recognized Avril as the righteous daughter. And Avril Lavigne has also developed a touch of affection during her 3 years of getting along with Ye Feng. Shook his head, shaken away the distracting thoughts in his mind, Ye Feng walked to the forge again, and picked up the hammer on the side. Soon, there was a sound of metal collision in the forge. Outside, Nizuo shook his head helplessly. Actually, he didn't want to drive Ye Feng away, just. Even if Ye Feng can forge a knight's sword of the lowest level. The reality is that Ye Feng did not forge even a knight's sword. Not only that, Ye Feng did not show any talent in cultivation, did not have the strength to become a knight, and there was no sign of awakening magic. A person like can only be an ordinary person for a lifetime. In case he dies one day, how can Ye Feng alone support the forge? Instead of this, it would be better to arrange other ways for Ye Feng to make a living. Immediately, Nizuo made a decision. When he came back from searching for materials this time, he would go find an old friend and see if he could arrange a lighter job for Ye Feng. Marfa Continent. A world where magic and knights coexist, not only humans, but also vampires, elves, dwarves, etc. Augsburg, where Ye Feng is located, is a small border town of the Sama Empire on the Marfa continent. Although there is no harassment of war, the rule of the strong eating the weak has not changed. A person like Ye Feng, who has no talent or skill, has no status at all. Although there is now Nizuo, Nizuo can't protect him forever. In the blacksmith's shop, the hammer in Ye Feng's hand kept falling on the black and red unformed iron block. The sweat on his forehead fell on the iron block, making a sound. And Ye Feng's eyes were filled with determination. Must forge success. He didn't want to leave the smithy, he didn't want to let the 3 years of hard work come to nothing. Now he has no retreat, only success. It's been 3 years, why can't I succeed once? Even once? Ye Feng was not reconciled. He is also a traverser and has gold fingers. For 3 years, his golden fingers are like trash, and he has been silent in his mind. Sometimes he wonders if his golden fingers are gone. Creation Master System. It was turned on when he first came here 3 years ago. He thought he would have a bright future with gold fingers, but he didn't expect that 3 years would pass when the system went silent. Did not have the slightest effect on Ye Feng's life. To put it bluntly, it would be better not to have none, so he could still have hope. Wiped the sweat from his forehead, threw the gold finger thing out of the sky, and continued to swing the hammer on the iron block. Now he just wants to change the status quo through his own efforts. Ding! Congratulations to the host for failing 1000 times and successfully activating the Lord of Creation system. Suddenly a crisp voice sounded in Yefeng's mind. Hearing this, Yefeng was taken aback first, and then he was ecstatic. Forging failed 1000 times? Is this the correct way to activate the system? Fortunately, I didn't give up and insisted on forging, otherwise I am afraid that I will miss the system. Kung Fu pays off. Is Yefeng going to the pinnacle of life? In the next second, the smile on Yefeng's face freezes. He tried it just now, communicating with the creator system in his brain, but there was no response at all. Gan, is it the same as 3 years ago, playing with yourself? Yefeng cursed badly. It seems that the golden finger and the system are not expected, so let's forge it well. Thinking, Yefeng adjusted his feelings of loss, and once again cast his eyes on the unformed iron in his hand. With the sound of ding-ling dang-kang, the iron block was sent into the furnace to melt it with the ore. After was completely fused, Yefeng poured the molten liquid metal back into the mold. After cooling down a bit, continue forging with a hammer. I don't know how long time has passed, Yefeng still beating tirelessly, the palm of his hand holding the hammer cracked, and a trace of blood spilled. He did not care, but let the blood drip on the iron block. In the forging time and time again, the night sword gradually took shape. After that, it was calcined again to create a sword hilt. A sophisticated night sword was forged. www.mentalnovel.com. Looking at the night sword in his hand, Yefeng couldn't help but show a smile on his face. Compared with the forged ones in the past, this sword is sharper and has much better toughness. Have you finally succeeded? Yefeng couldn't help but feel joy. 3 years later, he finally forged a qualified knight's sword. Although it was only the lowest level knight's long sword, its significance to Yefeng was extraordinary. Ding! Congratulations to the host for forging the first order low level and earning 10 points of the fire element. Suddenly, the previous crisp voice sounded in Yefeng's mind again. As the sound disappeared, Yefeng suddenly felt a wonderful energy in his body, and as that energy spread out in the veins, Yefeng suddenly felt the body full of power. At this time, Yefeng seemed to have the energy to do it, and his body was much lighter than before. Yefeng's heart was ecstatic, but he did not forget to look at the knight's sword in his hand. Knight's sword grade, first order low level attack power, 90 durability, 100 features, none successfully forging weapons can get rewards? Does the system keep me forging? Yefeng couldn't help but mutter, feeling the power in his body. If you can get such a reward once forging, is it still a dream to become a strong one? And as the strength increases, the more advanced things he can forge. This is a virtuous circle. For a while, Yefeng saw a bright road. This strengthened his decision to stay in the smithy. It's just that I don't know if I can get a reward for every successful forging? Seeing that middle-aged man, Yefeng no longer cared about the collapsed door, his brain turned rapidly, thinking quickly how to deal with the man in front of him. Although he is now a knight, he still has to admit it to the man in front of him. Eric. Among the only 3 senior knights in Augsburg, he is one of them. Is also the father of Avril Lavigne. When Eric saw Avril standing next to Yefeng, his face was extremely blue. Avril has not returned all night, and has been here until now, and Eric can think of what happened without his mind. Boy, you dare to touch Avril Lavigne, see if I won't kill you today. As he spoke, a terrifying aura burst out from Eric, and he was about to rush towards Yefeng. Dad, what are you doing? I warn you not to bully Yefeng, everything is my voluntary. Avril Lavigne immediately stood in front of Yefeng. Seeing this, Eric's face suddenly became colder, his eyes fixed on Yefeng, and he did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. Avril Lavigne, get out, I'm going to kill this guy. No, if you dare to move brother Yefeng, I will die for you to see. You. Avril, how can you be so confused? He is not worthy of you, you are ruining your future. Eric looked helpless. Usually I don't care how you help him, but I definitely disagree with you being together. Dad, I am no longer a child, I have the right to choose, you can't interfere with me. Avril Lavigne, can you be more reasonable? Ye Feng is not even a knight, how can I protect you in the future? Soon Avril wanted to say something, but Ye Feng stopped it. Ye Feng pulled Avril behind her, and at the same time gave her a smile, motioning to relieve her. Uncle Eric, I actually had the strength of a knight not long ago, but I haven't had time to verify it. Then Ye Feng turned to look at Eric, not afraid of the other person's eyes that would kill him. Eric was startled, and then he looked at Ye Feng's breath carefully. You really broke through? Yes, Uncle Eric, can I be with Avril now? That's not okay, you have only broken through to the knight at any age. Avril will only be delayed with you. Eric still refused to agree. Ye Feng, I know you also have feelings for Avril Lavigne, but do you want to delay her life like this? Since it didn't work from Avril Lavigne, Eric simply broke through Ye Feng. But obviously Ye Feng wouldn't be shaken by Eric's few words. Uncle Eric, don't worry, not only will I not delay Avril Lavigne, but I will try my best to help her. Ye Feng said confidently. If it had been a few days ago, Ye Feng would not have been so confident, but now he has that confidence. Help her? Why do you help her? What if you become a knight? What if you can forge success? Do you think that your talent can really help Avril Lavigne? Rely on this. Ye Feng raised the bloodthirsty sword in his hand and threw it towards Eric. Uncle Eric, if you finish reading this and think I can't help Avril Lavigne, then I have nothing to say, but I will never separate from Avril Lavigne. At this time, Avril looked at Ye Feng's broad shoulders, her heart filled with warmth, her small hand tightly held Ye Feng's big rough hand. Dad, I won't be separated from Ye Feng. Eric took the bloodthirsty sword, gave Avril angrily, and then looked at the bloodthirsty sword. Second tier top grade. Eric asked slightly in surprise. You refined this? That's right, the refining was completed just before you came in, Uncle. Obviously it is a second tier top grade, but it has the power of a second tier top grade. Wouldn't your kid find me from elsewhere and deliberately blame me? Eric looked again at the bloodthirsty sword. As far as I know, you have never forged successfully, how can you forge a second tier high grade weapon in one go? Dad, brother Ye Feng is different from before, but I have witnessed the whole process of his forging. Avril hurriedly said. Eric was very dissatisfied with Avril's interruption. After glaring at Avril, he continued to look at Ye Feng. Uncle Eric, how could I deceive you? If you find out that I have cheated, don't you need to say, how about leaving Avril by myself? Humph, I will believe you for the time being, but if I find out that you dare to lie to me, you will definitely die miserably. Eric snorted coldly. At this time, Eric's face also eased a little, and the killing intent in his eyes disappeared without a trace. Uncle Eric, don't worry, I can cheat no one to cheat you. Ye Feng is telling the truth. Eric is an advanced knight, and his strength is simply not what he can contend with. If you dare to lie to Eric, I'm afraid he will have to peel off his skin if he survives. Since you can forge, then I just need 20 second-class weapons, so I'll leave them all to you. www.mtlnovel.com At this time, Eric said. While talking, Eric threw Ye Feng a bag of gold coins. I will pick up the goods in 10 days. Wrap it on me. Ye Feng took the gold coin, confident. Then Ye Feng handed the bloodthirsty sword to Avril, and Eric took Avril to leave the blacksmith shop. The bloodthirsty sword was originally prepared for Avril Lavigne. Besides, he only forges weapons in the blacksmith's shop and doesn't need to fight or kill at all, so the bloodthirsty sword is a display for him. Although Avril was a little bit reluctant when she left, Ye Feng had to concentrate on forging. He didn't have time to accompany her, so she didn't stay here. What's more, Eric would not agree to let Avril Lavigne live with Ye Feng for unknown reasons. The two left. Yefeng did not immediately get into the warehouse, but checked the reward for successfully forging the bloodthirsty sword. Combat skill, bloodthirsty characteristics. The combat power can be increased by 10% after the battle begins, and the effect lasts for 5 minutes. The combat skills to increase combat effectiveness, although they look very powerful, are of no use to Yefeng. Has no interest in fighting Yefeng, it is better to forge more weapons with that effort. And forging weapons can increase your strength, why do you have to fight and kill? If it weren't for transfer, he wanted to give Avril's combat skills to Avril. Putting aside his combat skills, Yefeng went straight into the warehouse, ready to start forging weapons. 10 days, 22nd order weapons. To be honest, Yefeng has no absolute certainty that he can forge it. But the matter is over, he had to do his best to forge. I just don't know how much strength can be increased by forging 22nd tier weapons. Can it break through to the intermediate knight in one fell swoop? The next morning, Yefeng repaired the gate of the blacksmith shop, and then went to the market to buy the missing materials. Eric gave a bag of gold coins, which was enough to fill up the materials. Bazaar is a free market, mostly materials brought back from outside by adventurers. Yefeng used to help buy materials at the bazaar when Nizuo was there, so he knew the situation at the bazaar fairly well. In addition to filling up the materials needed for the 22nd order weapons, Yefeng also had another purpose, and that was to find some special materials. Is like a metamorphic black iron stone material. Has a systematic identification, so he can easily identify which materials have characteristics. Took the lead to fill in the missing materials, and then Yefeng began to wander around the market. Sure enough, the effort pays off. Yefeng's eyes fell on a purple crystal block. Purple obsidian grade, 3rd order middle grade characteristics. As it absorbs the power of lightning, the strength is greatly increased. After forging the equipment, the power of lightning can be attached. I found the treasure. The power of thunder and lightning is the most powerful attribute. If a weapon is forged from this purple obsidian, the power is probably higher than the bloodthirsty sword. And Tier 3 weapons can just be given to Eric, and it can be regarded as a gift to the prospective old man. Made up his mind, Yefeng directly bought purple obsidian. Ding! The detection host has special materials, and the host will be rewarded with forging map and map. Listening to the crisp voice in his mind, Yefeng was overjoyed. Unexpectedly, a piece of purple obsidian not only rewarded the map, but also the map of the formation. Following Nizuo for these years, Yefeng did not learn in vain. The formation can only be used with weapons above the 3rd order. Before the weapon is formed, the formation needs to be portrayed on the weapon, so that it can be regarded as a 3rd order weapon. However, it is also very difficult to portray the formation. A little carelessness will make the forging effort fall short. This is also one of the reasons why the success rate of Tier 3 weapons is reduced. Back to the blacksmith's shop, Yefeng closed the door, lighted the fire and opened the stove. The whole person is completely involved in forging. Yefeng was not in a hurry to forge amethyst or 2nd order weapons, but collected a bunch of common materials to practice the lightning array method. At the same time, a bold idea emerged in Yefeng's mind. A very small amount of Tier 2 materials are matched with Tier 1 materials, and then assisted by the formation to see what level of weapon can be forged. A little bit of time passed, and the sound of beating in the blacksmith's shop continued to sound. After several failed attempts, Yefeng finally succeeded in portraying the lightning array on the weapon. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the 2nd tier inferior. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 50 points of fire element and 50 points of lightning element, and the physical strength is increased. Knight's sword grade, 2nd order inferior attack power, 520 durability, 100 feature. When attacking, there is a chance to launch an attack with lightning, and the attack power is increased by 10%. Succeeded. Actually succeeded in forging a 2nd order weapon. Although it is only a second-order inferior product, the second-order materials used by Ye Feng are less than 1/3 of the ordinary second-order materials. If this is spread out, it will definitely make some masters of blacksmithing drop their jaws. Although the durability is slightly lacking, it has little effect. After all, this night sword can become a second-order weapon, all relying on the blessing of the formation. Can I try to forge a third-order weapon with a large amount of second-order materials and a small amount of third-order materials? The knight's sword was placed aside, and a bold idea once again appeared in Ye Feng's mind. Can try. Thinking, Ye Feng increased the temperature of the stove and took out a few third-order materials. A new round of forging begins. Ye Feng was fully involved in it, and the bronze-colored skin was shiny and masculine in the light of the fire. After a day and a night, after thousands of beatings, a brand new weapon was completely formed. As Ye Feng controlled the energy in his body and portrayed the formation on fitness, a brand new weapon was born. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the second-tier top grade. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining 100 points of the fire element and 100 points of the lightning element, and the physical strength is increased. Knight's sword grade, second order top grade attack power, 900 durability, 100 feature. When attacking, there is a chance to launch an attack with lightning, and the attack power is increased by 10%. Forging was successful, but Ye Feng was not happy. Because his goal is a tier 3 weapon, what he forged is only a tier 2 top grade. But after another thought, Ye Feng was relieved. Although there is only a small level difference between tier 3 weapons and tier 2 high-grade weapons, it is just like a heavenly moat. And he is just getting in touch with the formation right now, maybe there is a chance in the future. After stopping, Ye Feng didn't immediately put into the forging, but carefully checked his body. Now he has not only gold elements in his body, but also lightning elements. The energy contained in each element is different, the gold element is slightly more, the lightning element is weaker, it is probably related to the weapons he forged. What only puzzles Ye Feng is, what role do these elements have in his body? Will elements of other attributes enter his body in the future? Although Ye Feng was just an ordinary person before, he also knew something about cultivation. On the Marfa continent, there are two main occupations, one is a knight, and the other is a magician. The knight mainly relies on the power of the flesh, while the magician does not rely on the communication of various elements between the world and the earth to fight. It's just that it's 100 times more difficult to become a magician than a knight. www.mtlnovel.com. This also creates a scarcity of magicians, and the status of magicians has naturally increased. As for the integration of the two, it is even more difficult to ascend to the sky. It is not always possible that 1 out of a million people can be a knight and a magician at the same time. Isn't he a magician if he is like this? Shaking his head, Ye Feng didn't continue thinking about these questions. Forging is his most important thing at the moment. After thinking about it, Ye Feng continued to forge with a small amount of third-order materials and second-order materials. Regardless of whether a tier 3 weapon can be forged or not, at least it can be forged into a tier 2 weapon, and that will be able to complete the task that Eric gave him. However, in order to verify the idea of the elements, Ye Feng chose fire element materials this time. Soon after, the clanking sound rang again in the forge, like a symphony. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the second-tier top grade. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining 100 points of fire element and increasing physical strength. Fire sword grade, second order top grade attack power, 930 durability, 100 feature. When attacking, there is a chance to trigger the burning effect, causing additional damage to the enemy. Ye Feng immediately checked the situation in his body and found that the fire element and thunder and lightning elements in his body were constantly rotating, complementing each other. The energy contained in the fire element is obviously more surging than the lightning element. After thinking about it, Ye Feng tried to communicate the elemental energy in the body. The next second, a ball of fire immediately appeared in his hand. Looking at the fireball, Ye Feng beamed his eyebrows. Is he a magician? That night, only the blacksmith's shop with the curtains left, there was a ding-ding-dong-dong, and Ye Feng continued to forge Tier 3 wood weapons in front of the fire. Suddenly, a strong wind whizzed past, Ye Feng's expression rushed, and the sledgehammer in his hand lifted upwards. Hearing only the loud noise of dang, Ye Feng's footsteps went straight back several meters. Lai Ren is a strong man, at least with the strength of an intermediate knight. What a great person I should be! The silver-white big sword in the hand of the captain of the guard slashed again fiercely. Ye Feng hurriedly resisted, the big hammer in his hand was chopped and flew out by the big sword. Ye Feng was deeply aware of the strength of the opponent this time, he did not leave his hands to transport the two magical energy of thunder and fire. But the captain of the guard didn't give Ye Feng any chance. A white light suddenly appeared in his hand and hit Ye Feng's hand heavily, sending him flying out. Ye Feng knocked down a table and chair and spit out a mouthful of blood. The small blacksmith's shop simply cannot allow Ye Feng to exert his true strength, that's the ability. The man looked at Ye Feng, with a sneer on his face. While was speaking, the big sword in his hand slashed towards Ye Feng again without pause. There is no doubt that if Ye Feng is hit by this sword, he will probably end up badly. Boom! At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in front of Ye Feng. This person exuded a powerful and holy breath. A rapier that was longer than his body would knock the captain of the guard back with one blow. I heard the news at home that the city lord's mansion was about to do something to you. I didn't expect that a middle-level high-ranking knight was dispatched. It's such a big deal. Eric. Ye Feng was overjoyed, and Eric was willing to come out to rescue him. There must be a reason for Avril Lavigne, but it was not Eric's approval of him. Eric saw Ye Feng's thoughts at a glance. Don't get me wrong, but Nizuo told me that you have the potential to be a magician, which is the threshold for entering my family, and I really need those 22nd tiers weapons, so you can't die. Then Eric stopped paying attention to Ye Feng, and looked at the captain of the guards coldly. The city lord's mansion has been reduced to, and he has begun to bully a blacksmith boy to find a sense of existence? Intermediate Superior Knight Monak. The captain of the guard named Manak also smiled sullenly. Eric, since you know that it is the Supreme City Lord Mansion, you dare to come forward and stop me? You know, Osra and Apal can stare at you, you dare to fight against the City Lord's Mansion. You have too much nonsense. The slender silver sword directly picked out a bloodline from Monak's neck. A middle-level high-class knight, in front of the high-level knight, could not even catch a move. Uncle Eric, thank you. You are welcome. Remember, there are still 3 days. Eric just glanced at Ye Feng slightly, the armor on his body trembled, and then disappeared in front of Ye Feng's eyes. Strength. Ye Feng clenched his fists. He felt that his strength was not enough. The senior knight Eric, always stood in front of him like a mountain. The only thing he can do now is to increase his strength through forging. Ye Feng's eyes were firm, and he set up the forging furnace again, and took the sledgehammer and beat it on the mold. This time it went smoothly. A knight's dagger was formed under the last hammer. His expression revealed a touch of joy. He hurriedly took out the century-old ironwood and enchanted the dagger according to the map in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the 3rd-tier middle grade. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 wood element attributes. Increased physical recovery ability. Nature short sword grade, 3rd order middle grade attack power, 1580 durability, 110 characteristics. There is a chance to recover from injuries and increase physical strength during battle. Then Ye Feng glanced at the situation inside his body. The fire element and thunder element kept turning under the wood element. The vitality brought by the wood element made Ye Feng, who had been forged day and night, disappeared instantly. At the same time, Don Guido had received the body of Monac, who was thrown back to the city lord's mansion. There was no expression on his face, but he was slowly visiting Monac's body. Finally, a small scar was found on Monac's neck. This kind of move that can kill a middle-level knight in one move, and the fatal wound is very small, only the high-level knight Eric. Well, you Eric, it seems that Osra and Apal are not putting enough pressure on you. You provoke the city lord's mansion for a smithy kid. With the glory of the paladin, I will surely let you die. Land, I swear. Tang Ji Duo's sullen expression appeared on his face. Immediately he summoned two subordinates, and insidiously ordered, "You go to Apple and Osra secretly, saying that if they want to carve up Eric's power, come to the city lord's mansion as soon as possible." Two subordinates left. Just not long after the subordinates left, the Warcraft forest behind Augsburg suddenly heard a roar. This beast roar echoed in the silent night of Augsburg. www.mtlnovel.com. It seemed to drop a huge boulder on the calm lake surface, which stirred up waves. Don Guido suddenly panicked. The Warcraft forest behind Augsburg, but there are some very fierce beasts living in it, and in the innermost part of the Warcraft forest, there is a fierce beast that has never appeared before. It is said that there are high-class knights. If he is angry, he can even hurt the Bronze Knight. And the beast that can make this beast roar is only the master of the beast who occupies the forest of Warcraft. Check. Go and investigate, and all protective measures must be taken, and don't let the animal tide gather. And in the Warcraft forest at this time, there was a thin and tall shadow, holding a Warcraft egg the size of a head, running wildly in the jungle. Behind him countless beasts roared like crazy, chasing with. As for the reason, nothing more than the beast egg in the hands of the dark shadow. Augsburg. Ye Feng looked at the natural dagger in his hand with a satisfied look on his face. In the next second, a loud roar reached his ears. Warcraft. Almost instantly, Ye Feng realized something. Then put away the natural dagger, his figure flashed and disappeared into the blacksmith shop. Soon after, on the edge of Augsburg, Ye Feng looked at the rushing monsters, and a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes. This is undoubtedly a good opportunity for him. On the one hand, he can exercise his fighting ability, and on the other hand, he can hunt down the magic core. Of course, Ye Feng was not in a hurry. He rushed into the monsters now, purely looking for death. It won't be too late to rush into the monsters after the personnel who will fight against the monsters arrive. After that, Ye Feng searched the mysterious man for a while, only to find 7 or 8 second-order magic cores. There is nothing else useful. But at this time he already had the answer in his heart. The successive assassinations also made him charge Donald. Whether it's Donald or Don Quito, the lord of the city, the price will eventually be paid. After packing up, Ye Feng turned and walked towards the mysterious stone. Star Iron Grade, 3rd Order Top Grade characteristics, absorb the power of stars throughout the year. After forging weapons, it can increase attacks. Tier 3 material. Absolutely good stuff. It didn't come in vain. Compared with the 2nd Order Magic Core, the Star Iron makes Ye Feng more happy. The beast tide lasted for 2 days, and Ye Feng also stayed in the Warcraft forest for 2 days and 2 nights. He almost killed all the beasts on the mountainside. Among them is a 3rd Order Ice Demon Core. That is a big python with a 3rd Order low grade, cold in its mouth can freeze people, and its strength is against the high-level and inferior knights of the human race. In that battle, Ye Feng used his best effort and was almost swallowed by this ice python. If it hadn't set off for the revival of the natural short sword, he would have died on the spot. It is also fortunate that this ice python's spiritual intelligence has not been fully activated. The animal tide gradually receded. The mercenary corps of Augsburg also began to fight back strongly, and finally they all rushed to the mountainside of the Warcraft forest. It's only halfway up the mountain, and there are no more monsters. So those mercenaries had to return without success. In the blacksmith shop, The tragic situation in the city had already been seen when he returned, but he did not expect that the beast wave would have such a big impact. Among them, the Osla family living on the edge of Augsburg suffered heavy losses. In the end, in order to stop the loss in time, threatened Eric, Paul and Dong Guider with the idea of dying together. This made the other two seniors. The knight joins the battlefield. Of course, these things have nothing to do with Ye Feng. In the forging room, Ye Feng sprinkled the harvested bag out, and from it there were more than 40 magic cores blooming in splendor. Ye Feng picked out a few magic cores that were not good in color and put them aside, and started to forge them. There is only less than 1 day left to hand over 20 Tier 2 weapons to Eric, and he must complete the task within this day. Otherwise, no matter what potential you have, once you lose your trust with Eric, you will have a bad influence. The flame was burning, and the indoor temperature rose sharply. Soon there was a blast of hammers in the forge. Soon after, a second-order finished product appeared in front of Ye Feng. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the second-tier inferior. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining 100 points for the earth element and 100 points for the fire element. The physical strength is increased. Oath of the Earth grade, second order middle grade attack power, 970 durability, 100 feature, there is a chance to create an earth wall to block the enemy during battle. Throwing the Tier 2 weapon aside, Ye Feng continued to throw other materials into the furnace, and then raised the hammer. Ding ding! Soon after, another long sword appeared in front of Ye Feng. Burning sword grade, second order middle grade attack power, 990 durability, 100 characteristics, there is a chance to cause a fire attack during battle, increasing the effect of serious injuries. Knight's Flame grade, second order inferior attack power, 910 durability, 100 feature, there is a small chance of causing fire damage in battle. Ding! Congratulations on getting a 50 ignition attribute bonus, and a small increase in attack power. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining 100 flame energy bonus. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting 100 water attribute bonus. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting 100 soil attribute bonuses. Ye Feng's clothes were already sweaty, and his body began to undergo breathtaking changes. With the success of forging, the system prompts more and more frequently. With the drop of the last hammer, a water magic core with a very unsatisfactory color, turned into a second-order high-grade weapon with 1 hammer. Grade, second-order top-grade attack power, 1000 durability, 100 features, combat skills, actively restrain and trap enemies during battle. Ding! Congratulations! Acquired combat skills. Congratulations! Realm promoted to a superior intermediate knight. Congratulations! The magician level is upgraded to a 2-star magician. Hu Yefeng took a deep breath. He looked at the 22nd order weapons placed on the table and laughed contentedly. The task was finally completed. Now, even though he was very tired, his mentality was extremely relaxed. After covering the table with steel pigskin, Yefeng, who was exhausted to the extreme, and with the relaxation of spirit, fell asleep so deeply. Suddenly, Yefeng suddenly felt a feeling of falling. He hurriedly opened his eyes, only to see a perfect figure in silver-white armor outlined by the armor, bending over and smiling at him. Avril Lavigne? When did you come back? Yefeng said with joy when he saw the person in front of him. www.mtlnovel.com. I just came back, and then I can't wait to see you. Hearing the words, Yefeng picked up Avril Lavigne. I have forged 22nd tier weapons. Avril Lavigne, you don't have to worry that your father will obstruct me. Brother Yefeng, I knew you could do it. Just as the two were struggling, there was a soft cough. Ahem. Avril Lavigne, I'm not dead yet. Don't be so presumptuous. Avril hurriedly released Ye Feng, blushing and walked aside. Ye Feng covered his head. He thought he had just fallen asleep and Avril had come. But when he saw the ancient clock on the wall, he realized that the time had come the next morning. It was with Eric appointed time. Eric walked up to Ye Feng and sat down. He said in a flat tone, 22nd order weapons, none of them can be less, if less. Wow! Before Eric finished talking nonsense, Ye Feng suddenly opened the steel pigskin, and more than 22nd order weapons under the skin were exposed, and there were 2 second-order weapons in it. What? Eric looked at those weapons in surprise, a touch of incredibleness appeared in his eyes. These are all forged by you? They are still enchanted with magic cores. That's right. Ye Feng spread his hands, a total of 23, 3 more than expected, as a gift. Sir Eric, are you satisfied? Satisfied. Very satisfied. Eric was all red. He now knows the potential of this young man, even bigger than Nizuo said. Is just a treasure.